Or
Correct.
can you also understand these cross platforms?
No, we do build cross-platform identities. The
Okay.
whole point is, see, instead of knowing you as Facebook Vishal, Twitter Vishal, website cookie
Yeah.
ID 1, cookie ID 2, cookie ID 3, email ID 1, email ID 2, and each one of these are your personas. What we do is, use that machine learning layer on the identity side to actually connect these dots to create that single unified identity for you. So now the brand knows you not as those 10, 15, 20 different identities, but as a single identity called Vishal.
That must be hard work for you, Aditya, you and your team,
It
and
is.
there's another Vishal in your team, of course. How did you guys do it? What, the data saving that needs to be done here is enormous, right?
It
To
is. Yeah.
understand me as a Twitter Vishal, Facebook Vishal, and then saying it's the same guy, it's going to be tough for you guys.
No.
How did you solve it? I'm curious to know now.
No, so that is the core of the platform, Vishal. And you're right, it is tough. And that is the problem that we set out to build, which is why I think when you look at it, we became the world's first customer data platform to start using that hybrid identity building layer. And that is what, put us on the top 5 platforms when Forrester came up with its first global CDP wave.
Yeah.
Right? It is because of this identity core that we have and the differentiation that we bring because of that. So the ability, see, if you really want to be the brain or the data hub or the intelligence hub of a brand, there are 2, 3 fundamental table stakes in our view. A, you should be able to deal with all kinds of channels, which we do.
Okay.
There are no limitations, which means we are able to bring in social data, web data, voice data, so on and so forth. 2, you should be able to deal with both structured and unstructured information, because as far as the brand is concerned, all of these types of data contain intelligence and insights on the consumer. Now, if you cannot process that, you're not a good enough brain, and we want to be a great brain for the brand. So we process all data. And third, in consumer marketing companies, 50, 60, 70% in some cases, interaction information is anonymous. Consumers don't walk in with their email ID and mobile on their sleeve. So you should be able to process anonymous information as well as you process, known information. And so these are fundamental differentiators that we brought in when we built the identity core. And that is kind of
It's
what
so
differentiates.
interesting, man. It's so interesting. Today you have automobile guys saying that we need to get rid of the dealership. We need to go. Everyone's talking about going digital. Reliance Jio's effect, the pandemic's effect. And people, when you talk to the Reliance folks, at least in their AGMs and in their annual report, they talk about knowing the customer at not just a doorstep, but also how do you interact with your Kirana store, how do you interact with everybody locally. Right. And that's a hive, right? The hive effect is then how do you connect it back to the supply chain, right? And that brain that you talked about, right? It draws from all these sources. How can companies like Reliance, for example, work with you? And if hypothetically they work with you, right? How do you go down to the Kirana level? How do you capture data there? See, there's multiple QR codes, for example, right? That's fintech data. Right. Then there's through those QR codes, you also can connect to a bank and you have various data from banks. Right. Then there's customer data in that Kirana store on how different people have shopped. Right. Which then the Reliance team will use to talk to its suppliers, maybe. Right. And also transfer information to its Reliance retail stores about, 1,500 or 2,000 odd of those. Right. And in that entire journey there, what is the customer credit cycle? What type of products is purchasing online through JioMart, what type of purchase is making in Reliance Jio store, Reliance Fresh stores. You're saying that can be solved.
As long as there is opt-in data.
Opt-in, yes, I agree. We are talking about opt-in. These days everybody
opts in.
As long as
all of this is opt-in data of the brand, we are able to pull all of that data. And today, for example, right, Vishal, we are able to bring in data from 720 plus systems into FirstHive out of the box, right? And we have many connectors that we are able to build for enterprises from their own bespoke systems that they may have developed and so on. So being able to bring data in is table stakes for us in any deployment. And therefore, we'd love to, for example, add value to Reliance in its journey and similar brands.